I want to just go over a little bit the side of Erev Tavshilin. This year, Be'ez Shem Esborech, we're going to have a couple of times Erev Tavshilin, Rosh Hashanah, Sukkot, Shmini Atzeres, 3 times, one after the other. And just we should get the concept, what it is, how it is, and maybe halacha the tzvai was in the Gaia, according how we learn up the Sigya. Because the Sigya itself is a whole big Siman Shechanurch, Siman Tuf Kif Chav Zayin, a long Siman, which we won't have time to go through. But Al Kapunam, the concept is like this. When Yom-tov falls, like this year, Thursday, Friday, and then right afterwards comes Shabbos. So basically, how do you prepare for Shabbos? What do you do for Shabbos? So Chazal said, you make an Erev Tavshilin. What does it mean, Erev Tavshilin? Why is it called Erev? Because you prepare a food which is for Shabbos. We'll see, you have to have lekitchila, a food of something which is cooked. Lekitchila, you should have something which is cooked and also something which is baked. And that's why our minig is we take or fish or meat or egg, and you take challah or bilka, something like that, because you want to have something which is cooked and something which is baked. So now we say, this is for Shabbos. What happens? We, so to speak, mix together the Yom-tov with Shabbos food together, and that's why it's called Erev Tavshilin. You mix together the Erev Tavshilin. And then, since you made Erev Tavshilin, Chazal said, now you could cook on Yom-tov and for Shabbos too. Now, cooking for Yom-tov for Shabbos, is the choyer that man to cook for Shabbos on Yom-tov is the choyer a problem of a Iser D'Oraisa. What is the Iser D'Oraisa? Of Achona. To prepare something from Yom-tov for after Yom-tov is a Iser D'Oraisa of Achona. Iser D'Oraisa. Yeah. Is a Iser D'Oraisa. Also we gedacht zu sagen, Achona is a Iser D'Oraisa. What? Yes, if you do something for Yom-tov, if you cook Yom-tov for Wochen, is a Iser D'Oraisa. No. If you cook dafka for Yom-tov, it's a Iser D'Oraisa. It's a Iser D'Oraisa. Now the question begs, what? Now the question is, if it is a Iser D'Oraisa to cook from Yom-tov on after Yom-tov, why is it? How could the Chachumim come and say we make Erev Tavshilin? It's mutter. Chachumim cannot be oiker the Iser D'Oraisa. There's no such thing as oiker than Iser D'Oraisa. So the Gemara tells us, as a machloikas in Gemara, how come Chazal could make Erev Tavshilin if it is Iser D'Oraisa? And they want to say to cook for Yom-tov for Shabbos is not an Iser D'Oraisa. It's a machloikas. A machloikas between Rav Chizda and the Rabbah. Rabbah says the reason why it's not an Iser D'Oraisa because there is hoil. There's a ruch of hoil. That means if it comes Yom-tov and guests come on Yom-tov, so the food which I cooked for after is mamaila, is nicht problem because I could give it for orcham. So hoil the ikla orcham, since if orcham will come, so the food was not cooked for after Yom-tov, it's cooked for Yom-tov, so therefore it's not a Iser D'Oraisa. Mamaila, since it's not a Iser D'Oraisa, now could come, it's only Iser D'Rabbanan, still Iser D'Rabbanan. So now Chazal say, I'm taking away my Iser D'Rabbanan which I put on you by making Erev Tavshilin. That is the svuras of Rabbah. Rabbah says, hoil. Since if you're going to get orcham, then it's not going to be a problem, because you can give them food, so therefore it's not Iser D'Oraisa. Rav Chizda disagrees with Rabbah, but Pashtus is a machloikas, disagrees with Rabbah, and Rav Chizda holds, no. B'chalal, tzorchai Shabbos, make mamachna Yom-tov. That means you cannot cook for Yom-tov on weekdays, das taka iser, but tzorchai Shabbos could be cooked min ha-Torah, it could be cooked in Yom-tov, so therefore it's only Iser D'Rabbanan to cook from Yom-tov on Shabbos. Now the Rabbunim tells us that if you make a Erev Tavshilin, then it's not a problem. They take away they put on the Iser, they take away the Iser through a Erev Tavshilin.
How do they make the whole Gezeira is the Rabbanon?
Whole Gezeira of what?
The Rabbanon was the one who made it. cook from Yom Tov to Shabbos.
That's right. According to Rav Chisda.
But if they put it on, why would they take it up? Why did they put it on?
Because they said, we make a Easter, but if you make Erev Tavshilin, as we're going to see why they took it off, why they wanted, why they made Erev Tavshilin. There's a reason why. So once you did the Erev Tavshilin, their reason which they put on the Easter goes away. So automatically, this is mitzvah. Very simple. They said, I have a chashash. Why? What?
You could ask that same question about a lot of places, like Erev Chatzeres. They made the problem.
They made the problem. It's not a question. They wanted something to avoid, which that Erev Tavshilin will avoid, as we're going to see in a minute. So basically, we have a machlokes again between Rabbi and Rav Chisda. What is the reason that it's not an Issa D'Oraisa? We have to first take off the D'Oraisa. Once you have to take off the D'Oraisa, it's only a Drabanan. Then we can play around with Erev Tavshilin, because if it stays an Issa D'Oraisa, is this a problem? So what comes up? A pashta chilik of this halacha, of this machlokes. A pashta is like this. According to Rabbi, the reason why we cannot, it's not Issa D'Oraisa, is hoyer v'chikla orchem. Since we are going to have orchem will going to come, it will be ready for yom-tov. So therefore, it's not a problem to cook for yom-tov on yom-tov, because maybe you're going to get orchem. Now the question is, if you cook right at the end of yom-tov, right Erev Shabbos, mamash before Shabbos, like a lot of people put on the chol on the right before Shabbos, it's still in straw. In Hamad Alucha, when there's raw meat, you could put it on right before Shabbos. So they put, if you cook right before Shabbos, the end of the yom-tov, according to Rabba, which the whole reason is hoil ikla orchem, since you can have orchem, you have food to give them. If it's not going to be ready yom-tov, you don't take away the Issa D'Oraisa. You still have a Issa D'Oraisa, because the whole heter of cooking is only because you're going to have orchem, you'll be able to be mechaber. But since you cooked it in such a case that yom-tov, you cannot be mechaber, it won't be ready on yom-tov, it will be ready only on Shabbos. So automatically, it's nicht duken heter min ha-Torah. If there is not a heter min ha-Torah, so basically, the whole Erev Tavshilin does not work. That's according to, if the svur is according to Rabbah. If the svur is according to Rav Chisda, that is not because of hoil vikra orchem, because b'chlal, a pi Torah, man hat rosh von a pusik will v'chin asher yavi, as min ha-Torah, there's not a problem to cook from Yom-tov on Shabbos. It's a problem for Yom-tov on weekdays, but Yom-tov on Shabbos is not an Isser. So even if you cook right the last minute of Yom-tov, it's not a problem. You cannot give orchem. The heter is not orchem. The heter is because you for Yom-tov Shabbos you could cook. What?
So it's machlokes if it's a D'Oraisa or not.
If it's a machlokes, if for Shabbos if it's a D'Oraisa. Yes, if it's a D'Oraisa. For Chol is sicher a D'Oraisa. For Yom Shabbos the machlokes is a D'Oraisa d'Rabot. Yeah. Now wie der Paskeman. Most Rishonim pasken lot Rabba. Pasken lot Rabba, according to Rabba, that the heter is hoyer. That, which is basically the Riv, the Rosh, the Ramban, the Rashba, the Ran, the Smail, the Gusmaimanas. Most of the Rishonim pasken according to Rabba. But there are some Rishonim which pasken like Rav Chisda, which is the Rezu, the Rabbi Hananel, the Rabbi Ephraim. The Rambam sucht, as we hold both, we pasken wir beide. The Rambam macht wir beide. Kimtos, according to Rabbi Rishonim, is that we pasken like Rabba, we cannot cook the last minute of Yom-tov. And this is how the Alter Rebbe paskens. You look in the Alter Rebbe Shecharorach, so the Alter Rebbe clear, the whole heter, if you make an Erev Tavshilin, is only if you cook in Yom-tov, b'moed Yom, that you still have time, that orchem, it should be ready for Yom-tov, even if the last minute for Yom-tov is ready, but at least it's still ready for Yom-tov, and a guest can eat it, then it's okay. And if not, you cannot make, Erev Tavshilin doesn't have any value, and you cannot cook for Shabbos. It's awesome. And then you have to do all the eitzes the Chazal say, that you should give you food for someone else. If you, like somebody didn't make Erev Tavshilin. And those we passen al Treben, we passen größer a Welt mit Achroinem, passen that it's only have to be Moed Yom. Now, what? That's why we make Erev Tavshilin. Erev Tavshilin goes for the looks nice, yeah. We're going to see, so I'm going to show you this gifa. See, Madaf hetet, the looks nice is my limit, but we pasken, I'll try also pasken, the looks nice is a heilig fin Erev Tavshilin, yes.
Divided so close to Shabbos, then how do you say oil?
The what? Das ist nicht kein bei Essen, du sagst wie Oil. Du ist der etzem Sache ich kann Henne sagen. Das ist nicht dort geistig als das Wort des Oil. So that's the kids that word that we see, and we have to have it in mind, because according to the Alter Rebbe and according to groß heilig. There are some achroine, which want to say, Sof Kesov, since we have Rashonim, we're passing like the Rav Chisda, and since we have the Rambam, which want to say that Rab is auch moide to Rav Chisda, so therefore, Kema Michael Zam B'Devid, but the Master Alt Rebbe doesn't pass like that. Dachten wir, der Mischte Berira passen. Doch nicht so ja Brakapunem. Das ist die Yisod. So now we have to make a Erev Tavshilin and cook. We have enough time, it should be ready before Yom-tov. Good. Now, what is the reason why Chazal, we have the two reasons why it's not Isser D'Oraisa. Why did Chazal say that you should cook, that you should make Erev Tavshil? Why did they make the Isser? And why did they say Erev Tavshil helps? Is a klal homenes amachloek in Gemara. What is the reason? Rav Asher holds, it is mishim kuvad Yom-tov. The Chazal haben like that Isser, you cannot cook from Yom-tov for Shabbos. Kuvad Yom-tov. Why? Because people will say, if you could cook for Yom-tov and for Shabbos, for Yom-tov of Shabbos, so therefore, people will say, you could also cook from Yom-tov of the weekdays. And that's the Choser. What's the difference? If you could cook al tzachona from Yom-tov for a day which is not right away for them, you could cook it for other day. So what's the difference? It's Shabbos if it's Yom-tov. So there, covered Yom-tov, the Chazal said, we don't want you to cook for Yom-tov Shabbos. If you make a heker, you make a Erev Tavshil, so that people will realize, oops, there's something else. For Shabbos we could do because we have a Erev Tavshil, and therefore it's not a problem. So that's the das of Rav Asher, which the reason is als kvod Yom-tov. Das Ruva is not kvod Yom-tov, it's kvod Shabbos. We are afraid that if people are going to be able to cook Yom-tov l'Shabbos, then basically people will prepare, will think we're going to prepare for Shabbos. We have time to prepare for Shabbos. And basically, by the time it comes Shabbos, they won't there will no feed, because they're not going to cook beforehand, because they could cook a Yom-tov. Yom-tov Shabbos. So therefore they're going to say, we're going to cook it. But point Tos Kimen, mit nicht kochen for Shabbos. So als Kvod Shabbos, hat man Machel gewähnt there, you can see, in order we should remember Kvod Shabbos, man darf essen for Shabbos, haben Chazal weggestellt, that's the robust reason, that's why they made the Erev Tavshil. So we have again, two reasons, or Kvod Yom-tov or Kvod Shabbos. Now, what is the difference of this machloikas? Also a difference in halacha. Can I prepare this year for Rosh Hashanah, make Erev Tavshilin, and I have a refrigerator, and I keep the Erev Tavshilin for Rosh Hashanah, for Sukkot, for Shmini Atzeres, I keep it for all year round. Can I do it or can I do it? If it's a Erev Chatzeres, if the reason is because Kvod Yom-tov, that's the reason why we can do it, then it's not a problem. Because I made a heker, I made a Erev Tavshil, I made a heker, that basically people should know the only way how you could cook from Yom-tov to Shabbos is because I made a Erev Tavshil. So I have a Erev Tavshil, so therefore people will know for Shabbos I could cook because I made a Erev. For Yom-tov, for weekdays I cannot cook because I don't have a Erev. So you can make a Yom once today and make it to have it for the rest of the next year. If we say it's called Shabbos, then it doesn't help. Every Yom-tov beforehand, you have to make a Shabbos. Because the Chazal said, I want you to realize, Shabbos, if you can't make it, because people will still forget for Shabbos, it would forget it's Kima Shabbos, and therefore, wird man ungreiten, people will not prepare for Shabbos. So every Yom-tov, we have to make a separate Erev Tavshila. In La Masa, Paskemerins, La Luch La Masa, Paskemerins, as the Ketchila, you have to make every Yom-tov a extra Erev. The Ketchila you have to make every Erev. That means, even if you made Rosh Hashanah, you still have it, you remember you have it, you reminded yourself before Yom-tov, that basically, before Sukkot, you remind yourself, I still have Erev Tavshilin, it's not enough, you should make again an Erev Tavshilin. And when it comes to Shmini Atzeres, make again an Erev Tavshilin. But the Erev, if people forgot, and they still have the Erev, then we accept that in such a case, we can rely on that Erev, we have to make every Yom-tov the Erev, and that's the halacha. We have to remember, every Yom-tov we have to make a separate Erev, even if the first Erev still exists. What is the Erev? As I mentioned before, Erev is you take a food, and you take something which is baked, and you make, and you say, Bahadaim, with this, you put it away for Shabbat, for what? For this, we are keeping this Badai Yeshura through this food and through this baking stuff. We will be able to cook and you say lafia, levashula, ladukanura, and chol tzirchuna. Now the poskim say you have to itemize this thing. Och machloek poskim, but according to Master, we passing la lucha la Master, the Alter Rebbe passing la lucha la Master. You have to itemize levashula, to baking, all the whatever you didn't itemize over these 3-4 things, you cannot do. Do all these things as if you didn't make a Erev. Now the Erev has to be kept till you finish cooking. You don't have to leave it for Shabbos. Minig Yisroel, and as ich tight join in the Pascha, Minig Yisroel, you keep it for Shabbos, and Minig Chsidam is, you keep it for Shalashidas. That means the last seed of Shabbos, then you keep it, and that's the Erev Tashil. But Mitzad Alucha is you keep it till after you finish cooking all the food for Shabbos. Once you finish cooking, Mitzad Alucha Yom-tov, you can eat it. Lamas, again, the minig is keep it for Shabbos. If the food was basically eaten up before you finish cooking, you have a problem. You have a problem because it was eaten up. If you started baking already, you have the dough. But pashtas, if you don't have it, it's a thing which is constantly happening. You make it on an egg, and a child ate it up. So therefore, you have to put it in a separate bag, right out of tavshilin, in order to be it shouldn't be eaten up.
Do you have to eat it?
What? You don't have to eat it. No, you don't have to eat it.
Is there any to eat it on Shabbos?
This is what he asked. You don't need to eat it on Shabbos. No, but then, because once you made it for Shabbos, if I made it for Shabbos, do I have to eat it? I went to shul, a big kiddush, I don't have to eat it, I made it for Shabbos. What?
You're not going to eat it after Shabbos.
This depends already in which family.
Sometimes you just eat.
Ja, das ist der Heil, das ist von noch am Mitzvah. Aber es ist nicht kachoiv, die Sache. Once you finish, you can eat it up. Now you have to make...
My wife tells me it's almost... No one remember to eat it, you have to go quickly eat it.
It's again. Yeah. Now if your wife said it, you should do it. There you got to do it. Yeah, that you got to do it. Now again, you have to put... We put a challah, a bilka, something which is baked, and we also put a food. Now the food is more important than the challah. The food is the thing, because we are poskim which say we don't need to put also a fiyah and also bishul. Bishul is enough, and a fiyah will come automatically. Andere poskim say no, you have to put something for bishul, and you should put something for a fiyah separately. Lamasa, this is what we passed in la locha, like that you should have for a fiyah, and you should have for a bishul. But if the challah was eaten, but the tavshil is still over here, you still have it, you could rely and you can still cook. Because of you have the erev tavshil. If the egg was eaten or the fish was eaten, and the bilka was not eaten, that's not enough. It's as if you didn't make erev tavshil, you have an issue. What kind of food you have to eat?
You have to cook it, then you can take a matzah.
You can take a matzah, of course. This is how people do it. People take a matzah and an egg. This is things which hold last. That's the reason. Yeah. What kind of food do you need to take? You have to take. You cannot take rice. You cannot take beans. You have to take a food which is eaten with bread. A food which is eaten with bread. Lapas es hapas, which is basically an egg, fish, meat. These kind of things. I saw one of the poskim writes that today's day you cannot make a meat, because who eats meat with bread? With bread. Who is eating bread? Who eats with bread? He didn't go eat. Yeah, he wasn't in America. He didn't eat hamburgers or what? Kovish also kovish. Yeah, it's also good. Kovish tight, shulak, ufi, all these things, which is basically a machel,
would be is to do kovish on
we're talking about. No, he's not asking if you could use a food which is kovish.
Right,
that's the question.
You're trying to show that you're taking something that you
which I prepared for Shabbos.
Right, but you can't just take a grape. You're doing something that you have to cook to show that you're still you're in the
pickles. No pickles.
So that means that would be something that you wouldn't be able to do on Shabbos.
What?
On Yom-tov for Shabbos.
Why? First of all, why can't I be kovish in for Yom-tov? For Yom-tov, I can do all this food.
No problem. But on Shabbos, you couldn't do it
on
kavisha on Yom-tov for Shabbos, or you could.
No, auch nicht. Exactly. Of course you can do it. So again, rice, pasta, all these things you cannot put, because this is not a thing which is eating. The Gemara says that the Hana Bavlua Tipshua, they eat, farina with bread. This is not a, that's not a thing which we eat. Things which is cooked, but has to be some tissue is cooked, and you eat it with the pasta. The Gemara says even b'shira tafshil. The Gemara says that if you don't have, you just take from the bottom of the pot which stuck to the pot, you take it off, and that's food. You can eat it. That should be enough.
Milkings?
Why not? It's a food. Okay, one final halacha which I want to say. Again, we cannot get into the halacha. There's a lot of halachas, but one final halacha is an important halacha. If somebody more than one, somebody forgot to make a erev tavshilin. Somebody forgot to make a erev tavshilin. Now, in a year like this year, we have solution Sikus and Shmini Atzeres. Rosh Hashanah we don't have this solution, but Sikus we have the solution. Now, first of all, if he reminds himself by Neshmashis, he can still make a erev tavshilin, because since by Neshmashis is a sufuk, and erev tavshilin is another Rabbana, sufuk the Rabbana, we can still make it. And that's why in the shul which I grew up, Papa was managed, the minig used to be that used to come for mincha, and the shamas right after mincha used to clap boys. Anybody who forgot to make erev tavshilin, outside they used to prepare something, or you should go home, and you should make erev tavshilin. I myself too, also I made the same minig since I was brought up like this in Heichem Menachem. After mincha I used to knock on the table, and anybody forgot to make erev tavshilin should come up to me. I had prepared egg and a matzah, and we had more than once that there are people who came up and made the erev tavshilin, they forgot. So that's first of all you should know. So that's the first thing. Why not?
Where's our common?
So that's the first thing. Second of all, if you have to do, if you forgot, come to Shoshona, Roshona, you have no option. Sikus Shmini Atzeres, and it's a year like this year, because you have two times when you have to make erev tavshilin. Once, if Yom-tov is Friday Shabbos, the second day is the Shabbos, you also make after erev tavshilin, and like this year you have 3 days. Thursday, Friday, Shabbos. If it is, you forgot to make erev tavshilin, you know what you do? You take a matzah and an egg, or a fish, whatever, and you say, if today is Yom-tov, then tomorrow is Chol, so I don't need erev tavshilin. So then I don't need erev tavshilin, so okay. Then you go to the next day, and you say like this, so you say like this, if today is Yom-tov and tomorrow is Wochen, then I'm not doing anything. But if today is weekdays and tomorrow is Yom-tov, because we have a sufuk, so I'm making now erev tavshilin. I say bahaya, badayin, shi'ur. We don't make a bracha because it's a sufuk, and you make erev tavshilin. Then you take the same challah and matzah, whatever we do. Tomorrow next day, say the same thing. If yesterday was Yom-tov to today's day, it's not erev tavshilin because we don't need erev tavshilin. It's weekdays. If yesterday was weekdays, if yesterday was Yom-tov and today was weekdays, I don't need to make. So in any case, such a case, you are covered, and the erev tavshilin is okay. Rosh Hashanah cannot make it because it's Yom Arichta. But if it's the other day, such a year like this year, we have a thing which we can make it nigh, and we can do such a thing. But if a person taka forgot, he didn't make it nigh, or it's a year which he could not make tonight, but it's Friday and Shabbos, shtayt in Shulchan Aruch, there's such a thing, you could rely on Gudli. Gudli means that the Rav of the Shtad, when he makes the erev, he picks it up, he gives it for someone else, should pick it up, and the what? So he gives it for someone which is not a part of his family, because it doesn't help to give it for your wife or for your small children. You have to give it for even an adult, if it's Samach HaShechonoi. Give it to someone else, you should pick it up, and you say, Ba'adain, you should shoot it. Now, a lot of people do it because that's in the Siddur. But Lamasa, we don't need to do it. You don't need to do all these things, make a kinyan. You just pick it up and say, Burich Atum, Ba'adain. But I don't
have to find my wife and do it every time every yom-tov and find her.
No, you don't have to do it b'chlal. B'chlal, never. The Rav has to do it. And then, if it happens such a thing, then a person which is in the community or in the city could rely on the Rav's erev tavshilin. But, Shtayt Shulchan Aruch, you could rely on it only if you're not a Peshaya. If you're not a Peshaya, if you're stuck in an oinus, and what does it mean a Peshaya? First, you knew that you have to make out of you didn't do it. Or even if you forgot, you could rely on it, if you rely on it only once in your lifetime. Some person will say only once in your lifetime. Other person will say no, not once in your lifetime, but you cannot rely on it one yontav after the other. If you rely on one yontav after the other, that means you are a shlemazel and you're a peshaya, and you're not relying on it. So in any case, you have to remember, you don't rely on these things, do it for yourself, and that will help you to cook of Erev Tavshilin.
No.
Yeah, but that should be but they don't have to be mazaka. Avadi you have to say b'nai Ashur. That's the whole Erev Tavshilin.
How about this part?
You don't have to say chalanchi. You know
How about Oberland over here?
No.
Ani Mazak over here. This it says in the Siddur.
Ani mazaka. This is only for good
It
layira.
doesn't say that in the Siddur. It just says it.
What?
It just says. Pick it up and say it.
Okay, but you can say it's not a problem. You can do it, but you don't need to do it. You don't need to. I don't mix up that. Why you have to be mazak? No, you don't need. You don't need to be mazak. If you want other people to rely on it, they have to be mazak for them.
So what should we do? What do we do? Just about.
Well, if you want to give someone else to pick it up, good. But you have only your wife, you can't. Then what do? You don't need to do it. To finish.
So you just say the bracha.
Yeah, bracha, but you dine. You have to do it, and it's very important. You should know what you're talking about, because if you said it nisach, you have no idea what you're talking about. That's why in the New Sidurim they made it l'shna kodesh, and that's very good. The New Sidurim they made it this, and afterwards they said in parentheses in l'shna kodesh or in English, you should know what you're saying.